Hello there ladies and gentlemen, my name is Owen and welcome to this brand new video here on Blur Bosch. I'm just going to start off by saying this might be the last video of the year for me, which might come to a little bit of a disappointment to you guys because I did say I was going to do an Insignia update. My beloved daily driver, the 18 plate Insignia, I was going to do an update on that car because most of you guys have been asking how's it been doing since the chain was replaced, what mileage is it on, how far have we got with it, you know, and bits and pieces like that. All I can say to you guys at the minute, guys, is there's nothing wrong with the Insignia. The Insignia is a fantastic car. We're on 84,000 miles, 85,000 I think actually. So the car has been flawless really since we had the problems fixed with it anyways in 2022. But anyways guys, you may have already seen the title of this video. Fuming. My 1998 Corsa B. What happened to it? Why did I get rid of it? Where is it now? And that I will answer you that very question about fuming. A bit of a long story really. To cut a long story short, I spent a considerable amount of money on that car since I purchased it in 2019. The main hit for me was in 2021, or was it 2020? The main bearing in the rear left drum collapsed. The taper bearing completely disintegrated itself. The wheel came off the car with the drum attached to it, and I had to get a new axle. I had to have it towed away by the police because I had no breakdown cover for a car that was over 15 years old, which of course fuming was at that point. So that cost me a fortune, and then when I got the rear axle put back on, the new one, the car wasn't right in the way of the braking system because obviously it broke the cylinders. You had to have a new axle because the old one, I bent the stub axle by driving it 70 miles an hour, and then the wheel just suddenly ricocheting off the car. So that cost a fortune, and then I serviced the entire brake cylinders and everything to do with the drums. I had it completely rebuilt, and that costs quite a bit of money to get all the parts, to get all that sorted. And then of course I had the fuel tank that had to be addressed as well. There's quite a numerous of other things that had to get sorted too, and then obviously I got it through an MOT, and then when I got it through an MOT I was driving it, but I was very sketchy of it, very nervous of it. Took it off the road multiple times to fix things, had the radiator changed, had everything else changed, and then once everything was practically done and I just wanted to drive it, obviously my Insignia broke down at that time, so I had to use the Corsa as a daily driver for about a week and a half, which was sketchy in itself because I hadn't really driven the car very much or that often since the wheel came off the car and since I had to change the fuel tank. So the car had been in major operations continuously throughout that year, and it was sketchy driving it because I knew that I braked on it and I trusted it, and it got me to where I needed to be perfectly fine. I got the Insignia back, drove that for a bit, and then I thought, after leaving the Corsa park to have a little bit of a rest from that point, I decided, ooh, I'm going to drive the Corsa to work one day, which I did. It got there fine. I had loads of people asking me questions about it in work whilst it was parked outside, and then I drove it home. And as I was driving it home, I lost complete power. I was doing 70 miles an hour on the bypass, was on the way to go uphill, so I applied extra throttle and I lost power completely. So whilst we were going up this hill, I could see the speedo dropping, cars overtaking me whilst I was in an overtaking lane, which was dangerous enough as it was, and it just completely cut out. So I pulled over at the side of the road. I let the engine cool down thinking it had overheated, but according to the thermostat which we changed, there was nothing wrong with the heat of the engine, and it would struggle to start. I thought it broke a belt, but fortunately the belt cover was off the engine, so I could see the belt was still intact, so it was not that. And I had the car serviced 2 weeks before this issue happened, and I put a brand new battery on it as well, which was fortunate enough, because trying to crank that car was such a pain. And then I thought, do you know what, I'm going to check the spark plugs. Now fortunately my boot was full of tools. I always kept tools in the boot of the car, just in case I broke down. If I was on my way to a car meet or something, at least I got something to try and mend the car if necessary. So I took out the spark plugs, and cylinder 3 spark plug was completely smashed. The cylinder kissed the spark plug, and to this day that spark plug is still in the car, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. So I knew the engine was damaged, I knew it was struggling, and I continued driving it with only 3 cylinders until the point where the car really struggled to start. It really struggled to stay running in some cases, and being an automatic, I was trying to apply throttle whilst changing it into gears with the brake pedal, which was difficult to keep the engine running if you were stopped at a red light. So of course I parked it up again for the final time outside our granddad's, and it just sat there. The car just sat there. I lost complete motivation to get anything fixed with it. I knew we would have needed a new engine, and that's when I found out that we were expecting a little one, which of course the little one has to come first before the car. So the car sat for that very reason. I had to make an executive decision whether to get a new engine in the car and be skint afterwards, or hold off and wait and see what happens. And it came to the decision where I got the Vectra, because I was saying to my partner that I wanted to make more content for you guys. And then when I got that car, I realised we were going to get this place. So of course that was bad timing from me. And I looked at the 2 cars and I thought, which one am I going to keep and which one am I going to let go? I made a lot of content on fuming, and a lot of people know me for fuming, and I cut ties with it. I knew that if I got it working again, I'm still, to this day, if I sat in that car to drive it, I would still be a little bit sketched out personally because of what I know it did to me at the time. And although my fear of that driving that car with 3 wheels has disappeared from time, it was one of those cars where if I got into it, I've done a lot to it. I changed the interior, I've done loads of stuff to the bodywork, paint work, the wheels, the suspension, the engine, the radiator, the exhaust, the rust, the whole lot. I've done a lot to the car and I made loads of content. But part of me thought, apart from an engine change, what else am I going to do to the car? And it was a solid car, to be fair. The actual body of the car, the shell, was solid. There was nothing really wrong with it. And I thought to myself, I haven't got the facilities to change an engine. When I got the Vectra, the idea was to change the engine out of the Vectra into the Corsa. And when I looked at the Vectra, I thought, it's too clean to do it to it. And when I looked at the 2, I thought, well, the Vectra's a diesel for starts. It's a sunroof, it's a classic car, and it looks a damn sight better than the Corsa. And besides that, the Corsa was my first proper project car. A lot of mistakes were made with that car. A lot of things went wrong with that car. And I've learned a lot of stuff from that car. And I had spent, including serviceable parts, I must admit, a grand total, without the actual car being on it, about £6 on that car. And I hadn't even changed an engine in it yet. So I thought to myself, do I just throw another 4, 5, 6, maybe £1,000 worth of engine in it? Or do I cut ties and move on to something else? Now I thought for you guys, as projects go and as content goes, it would be interesting to get another car. But of course I had the Vectra. So I cut ties with the Corsa. And that was because of the financials of it. So I sold the car for 250 quid. Not running, with no MOT, and it wouldn't start. The engine completely wouldn't start. I had virtually no compression in cylinder 3. And although the alternator was good, the new battery I put in there must have been completely toast, even though I got it a year or two ago. Because it wouldn't hold the charge. So, yeah, I sold the car for 250 quid to a friend of mine who was either going to scrap it or fix it and keep it for himself. I found out later on that he must have fixed the engine because he had sold it to somebody else. And I thought nothing of it. I thought, well, this is it. The car's gone, you know, it's probably going to get parted out, etc., etc. You know, the engine was knackered, but there's a load of good bits to it. Plus, it didn't look the best either. It looked a bit tatty in places. The sunroof was rotten. So I thought, it's probably going to get parted out for another car. In which case, it is what it is. However, I had a message. I'm not going to give any names. I had a message, and if he's watching this video, he knows exactly who he is. From somebody who lives not far, really, from here, from where I am now. And he messaged me saying, "Hi Owen, a bit of a random one. I think I've got your car." And he wanted to know a little bit more information about it because he noticed that in the paperwork it was my car. So I was quite humbled. I knew one day somebody would message me about it if they had bought it as a project, because behind the front bumper I actually signed and put my YouTube name on the crash bar when I repainted that myself at home. So I knew somebody might ask me something about it. Even if it was in a scrapyard, they may ask me something about it. And to hear that somebody is driving it as a daily driver with a fixed engine, it's quite humbling. My little Corsa, my project car, my problems and my hero at the same time, because during COVID I was working on it and it completely kept me sane. So my nightmare and my hero of a Corsa B is still breathing, it's still driving, and it still holds an MOT. It's got an MOT, guys. And to hear that the car's been used as a daily driver, it's so humbling, because I know that car, as much as I've lost a lot of money on that car, it's such a good feeling knowing that somebody else is enjoying that car, is out in that car, driving it, enjoying it for what fumin is. And I'm so happy about that. I've got lots of stuff still from fumin. I've even got its old when I first got the car, I've even still got here its reg plate that was on the car when I bought it, on the pretty much on the back of a tipper on its way to a scrapyard. And I just thought to myself, I don't regret buying fumin. I don't regret doing anything to fumin because of what I've learnt from it. The nights of being in the unit, having a couple of drinks, maybe a Greg's at some stage, cold, freezing, stinking of oil and petrol, you know. It's that, the memories you take from that stay with you forever. And going out to car meets and sitting around, standing outside the sunroof, enjoying the car and the people that come around with it. That was the best feeling for me. And cars come and go. It's a piece of metal. I know that. And sometimes all good things must come to an end. And that was surely the case with fumin. I had to make a decision of which car to get rid, because I was in risk of losing the unit, which is why the Vectra was up for sale, but now I've managed to keep it. But then I was also, it was I couldn't keep the Corsa where it was any longer. I knew it would rot completely and it'd be worth absolutely nothing. And although I sold it for 250 quid, I'm glad I did, because the guy who I know bought it off me, fixed fumin, and gave her a little bit of lease of life. And she's still out there strolling around. And I've heard the person who's bought fumin off the guy who bought it off me, is planning to put another engine in it anyway, which is very interesting as well, because that means although fumin is alive, running and driving, he even sent me a video of it at his work, I'm guessing. He is going to be putting another engine in it at some point. And maybe we might see fumin once again. And when I say we might see fumin once again, I don't mean I'm going to buy it back. That probably won't happen. But we might have Gordon the Vectra and fumin in another video one day. That I'm quite excited. The Vectra is going to take a little while to sort out. It's currently tomorrow running out of MOT. Today is the 27th, tomorrow's the 28th. Tomorrow it'll run out of MOT, the Vectra, so it's going to take a bit to get everything sussed and sorted, ready for an MOT. Plus, I've had my insurance renewal. It is skyrocketed, so I might have to wait for that to come down too, but there's no major rush. It's in dry storage, as you guys have seen with the last video I made of the storage unit. So I know it is safe and secure as well as dry. So there is that. But there will be content on that eventually. So just to summarise, guys, fumin is alive. And I am so happy to be able to say that fumin is still on the road, alive, insured, MOT'd and taxed. The sad part about it is I don't see it. But I'm sure one day we will all see fumin again. And I'm just happy that she has gone to a new owner who's going to look after her and has assured me actually that she is going to be a pampered car. So I'm quite happy for that. Just to summarise again, guys, in terms of the videos, I'm getting my Rode Wireless Go repaired, which is another reason why I've been struggling to make videos of late, is because the microphone I've got, Rode Wireless Go, since I've changed phones, has not been working correctly, so it's going to get fixed. That problem's going to get fixed. And secondly, my computer, which is behind me presenting you with my Insignia's photograph, that is also getting repaired as well, because I've got a few problems with my computer that needs sorting out. So because of this might be the last video until after Christmas, potentially. I'm hoping it won't be, but it might be. So anyways, guys, the update for the Insignia will be coming soon. I promise. I might have it done earlier if I get this road fixed. But until next time, guys, anyways, if you haven't seen me by then, have a lovely Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and stay safe.